Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Peter Martin, and I'm delighted to say this week's guest is Darren Jackson, former footballer, with a man of many clubs is the only way I can sum it up. And boy, what a journey it's been for you, for club and for country as well, Darren. When you look back at that long career, are there things that will live with you forever? Is there a highlight that sticks in your mind that you will never forget?
There's probably two spring to mind, Peter. One was obviously, and they both happened a month apart. One was obviously winning the league with Celtic, and obviously stopping 10 in a row, which was massive for Celtic Football Club at the time. And the next one happened the next month, standing in a lineup against Brazil in the opening game of the World Cup.
Yeah, there is a moment there, and I can remember previous Scotland internationalists who maybe stand against Brazil and they look at Brazil and they're all bronzed gods. Was there that feeling when the Scottish team walked out? What was that? What was it like walking out? What was going through your mind?
Well, Peter, you can imagine Scotland fans, the Brazilians walked out hold hand in hand. And you're thinking to yourself, if we had walked out hand in hand, we'd have got slaughtered for it, yeah. But just the aura. I mean, I was always last out for most of my clubs.
Yeah.
That means sub.
Yeah.
But I was last out, and I'm standing in the tunnel beside Ronaldo. Now, actually, at the time, it just took me back to, I played for Meadowbank. I started at Meadowbank, and then I'm standing beside Ronaldo in the tunnel in the opening game of the World Cup. And it was like a kind of moment where I probably wanted to break down and get emotional, but you obviously couldn't because we obviously had a game.
You'll never believe this. You obviously know I met Ronaldo ahead of that, and afterwards I'm sure he was talking to his pals about I was standing next to Darren Jackson in the tunnel. But there were some team, listen, you almost get a really good result against them.
Yeah, we almost, I mean, you're talking Peter, Ronaldo, Bebeto, Dunga, Rivaldo, Cafu, Roberto Carlos. Do you know what I mean? It was just a sensational team.
What about your teammates?
We had a brilliant team. I mean, I've always said, and Craig Brown used to give me give me a hard time for this, that I was very, very lucky. The squad we had, Peter, I was lucky to be in that team. I played my part, and I think I did well. And I was lucky that Gary did his knee. Gary did his ACL before the World Cup.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have played.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, when you look at, and I'm not what you miss, you look at Calderwood, Hendry, Boyd, Collins, Lambert, Jury, Gallagher, Christian, Burley.
I
know, but Burley was for me, one of the most underrated players at Celtic and for Scotland.
Yeah, but you do yourself a disservice because you, for me, were very much a Craig Brown style player because he liked players that pressed. He liked players that their work rate matched when they were not on the ball.
I know, but that was probably Craig Brown's team.
Yeah,
they had a lot of ability, but I mean, Dukey. I mean, I remember in the Morocco game, I was suspended. And the work rate I put in with the 2 games previous in this game was beyond belief. I mean, people, obviously, I got a lot of praise for the way I worked on the pitch, but Gordon Jury took it to extreme levels. And he was actually lying on the ground, done, in the Morocco game. And Craig just wouldn't take him off.
Yeah.
Because he knew what Dukey would give him. And it was a disappointing result, but it was just a magical time, Peter, with great boys and great players.
Yeah, let me take you back, all the way back then. You mentioned Meadowbank. Even as a youngster, was it football or was there anything else you potentially could have been?
No, it was always football, and I had a trial with Hibs and I had a trial with Hearts, and obviously I actually played in the game. Remind the boy Gary Parker, who played for Scotland.
Yeah.
Kicked all the try. I actually played in that trial game and he got signed and I didn't. And it obviously he got freed, and then he went on to play for Scotland at rugby and all that. And and I was late, Peter. I was playing for Melbourne Thistle under 21s. I'd signed for Broxburn Juniors, and then Terry bought me from there. I only played 3 games for Broxburn, and Terry bought me from there. And I was 18.
Yeah.
Most boys nowadays are picked up.
This is Terry Christie.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the duffel coat?
With the duffel coat. And he thought he saw something in me, and it was just... Now, looking back at the time, you're thinking, I was obviously a bit low because no one had picked me up and all that. And then I'm going part-time. I was working I was a printer. And it was actually right across from Meadowbank. So I'd work overtime and then just go over to training. And but you're thinking it's maybe gone, but I just had a belief inside. And I can remember sitting with my sister and brother-in-law moved to Jersey, and I loved going over on holiday to just some place. And we sat one night, we had a few drinks. It was just him and I out. We sat on the stair of the hotel I was staying in, and it was about 2 a.m. And I can remember my brother-in-law saying, "Fine, I'll move over. Don't think it's going to happen." And he wasn't being negative. I was just getting to an age where it was very unlikely and I just said, "It will happen." I just had a belief. I don't know why. I just had a belief that.
What position were you playing?
I was just a striker, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the season at Melbourne, which we lost 1 game, in the Scottish Cup final, we won every other game. I think I scored 42 goals.
Wow.
And I just had a belief inside me that I'm going to make this happen because this is my dream.
Yeah, you must have done something right. Newcastle?
Well, talking about Meadowbank, I don't think this would ever happen now. I played for Meadowbank in my last game at Cowdenbeath. In the following week, I played at St James's against Arsenal. Again, and I went on, there was only 1 sub then. I went on a sub against Tony Adams.
Yeah. I've got a group of, I've got a collection of photographs of you down through the years because of our friendship, you know, from Meadowbank, and then you were really skinny and gangly going on against, you know, for Newcastle.
I was 10 stone through my career, Peter. I was 10 stone.
I think I was 10 stone when I was 9. What was it like? What was good for your head?
Well, I'd never been to St James's.
Yeah.
It was actually, I played 1 week and then I went away with Scotland under 21s. So I'd gone down, they'd taken me down, I'd never been to Newcastle, never been to St James's. So I went down and they played Manchester City. And I went and I got invited into the team talk and all that. And the whole team talk was about this boy, Gaza, Paul Gascoigne. And I'm thinking, who's... And so I went up and watched the game, and it was just sensational in the game. And so I went away with 21s, and I came back. Then the following week, it was Arsenal, and like Meadowbank, Peter, with 500 fans.
Yeah,
and then you're
a good day.
Yeah, and then you're in front of, I think at the time it was 32,000, and it was mind blowing.
Did you move down there?
Yeah, I had to move down. I moved to Morpeth,
right,
which was this side, so that's why I moved. But it was just an amazing 2 years.
And give me an indication of the players that you were playing with.
Gascoigne, Mirandinha, Beardsley, Paul Goddard, who, for someone, I think Sarge is about 5'7", is easily the best target man I played with. Yeah? Yeah. Unbelievable. And so, it obviously came from West Ham, I think QPR, and he just kind of took to me, and he took me under his wing and all that, and just a wonderful boy. But you had Glenn Roeder, John Anderson, Kenny Wharton, just brilliant players. Yeah.
Strangely enough, those players that you mentioned, down through your life, have you managed to retain a few of them as friends forever?
Robbo was down as well. It obviously never really worked. I got sold the week after Robbo left. Jim Smith came in, and they didn't have the money, especially the money now they have.
Yeah.
And he needed to he needed money in. So I think Robbo it didn't really work out, obviously. And then but yeah, I still obviously now and then speak to Robbo. I still speak to Gaza. Dave Besant came. I still speak to Dave Besant, and obviously Michael.
Yeah.
Michael O'Neill, who I was Michael's best man, and we still see each other and all. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've rhymed off a couple of managers who've come into your life. When I look at your career, boy, you've had some unbelievable managers who've taken charge of clubs that you've played at. Just give us a flavour of. You mentioned Terry Christie, but give us a flavour all the way through it. Some of them that you.
I got asked the other day there. You obviously get asked all the time, who was your favourite club or who was your favourite manager? And I would never ever be disrespectful to any of them to say I never had a favourite, because I worked with so many good ones. Terry started it all off, was sensational, and I think very, very, very unlucky not to take the next step because he could easily have managed in the Premier League, and I think he nearly he was told he had the Hibs job, and then Alec Miller got it.
Right.
I went down Willie McFaul at Newcastle. Now, tactically, probably Willie wasn't, but man management was one of the best. And you had to be to manage kind of Gaza.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He had two, Colin Suggett and John Pickering were the assistants who were tactically excellent.
Yeah.
And then I went up to Dundee United, and football-wise, a genius.
Yeah.
You can only...
Jim McLean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Management-wise,
yeah.
a disaster.
Of the 600 Dundee United legends that I've had in this studio, all of them say the same thing. Yeah. Coaching, fantastic. Personally, nightmare.
Yeah, but I mean, Peter, nowadays, they'll put a player will come up and it'll just come up all his stats. Right? Everything, assists and that.
Yeah.
Jim was doing that. I went there in 88. Obviously, I broke my ankle on my debut 4 minutes. My pal, Big Derek White, against Celtic. But he was probably doing it before I went, but I got from about 8 to 9. Mm-hmm. He had a Duke Houston wasn't on the coaching staff, but well, he was, but he wasn't full time.
Yeah. And
he used to come to every games and just a bit of paper and write down, and then Jim would come up the back of the bus after the game and say, "You held it up that many times and you laid it off," and so he was doing stats then.
Did you like him?
Did I like him? I think, if I'm truthful, he treated the players he brought in better than the players that came through the ranks. And I don't know why. I got on okay with him.
Yeah.
Davy Bowen and I are best pals, and we went to America on holiday, and he was there, and obviously we didn't have phones then. I actually don't know how we got in touch, but he was keen golfer, and so was Bo, and do you want to go and play golf? And he was brand new.
Yeah.
He was great, but by the way, he was beyond.
Yeah,
beyond.
I mean, most of the players can talk about particular highs of beating a really good side, and then at the tail end of it, when you think you're going to be able to have a few beers, it wasn't happening. He somehow managed to twist it.
He was worse after a win than he was a defeat.
Yeah. Did you get the classic Fergie line? Did you get the hairdryer treatment?
Yeah, everyone got it, Peter's like there spitting in your face. I swear to God, incredible.
Yeah. What kind of person are you? I mean, I look at you and I think to myself, okay, on a park, you're the only player I know that could walk onto a park and both sets of fans would boo you.
You can put this in or you can't put it in. But I got it one day. We came in after the game. He came right up, right in my face. He said, "Jackson, you had sex last night." And I went, "No, I never." "You had sex last night." And I was like, "Boss, I promise I never had sex last night." He said, "Well, say plain like that, you should have." But that's the way his mind...
Trying to get it in your head.
That's the way his mind
Yeah.
But listen, on the training pitch, as I said, he was so far ahead.
Yeah. Were you at United striker again?
Yeah, striker, midfield as well. Yeah, listen, there's no doubt he made me a better player.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Just link up play, making the correct runs. Now you obviously have that in you, but I was so happy I played under him.
Yeah.
But it was hard.
What was the difference then between the standard of play that you're playing for Newcastle and playing in the Premier League in Scotland? For me, it wouldn't have been as big a gap as it is nowadays with the millions that the Premier League in England. Was there a different style?
Right. Well, you can agree or disagree with this one.
Yep.
That Gough was away by the time I got to Dundee United.
Was he joined Spurs or had he gone back to Rangers?
No, he joined Spurs because
Right.
I actually played against Richard Gough in the FA Cup at White Hart Lane when the year Clive Allen scored 40 odd goals.
Yes.
Well, Spurs beat us 1-0. Clive Allen scored and Gough was playing for, so he had left. But when I went up there, there was still Hegarty, Neri and Malpass. Now for me, and I would probably say, apart from the Lisbon Lions,
Yep.
Gough, Hegarty, Neri, Malpass, the best Scottish back four.
You think that's the best Scottish back four?
Now, I'm not. I'm talking collectively.
Yes.
Because obviously you've got
Is it
Miller. You've got Miller and
I was
McLean.
going to say, is it better than Kennedy, Miller, McLeish and Rugby? Or even
Well, in my opinion, Gough and Malpass
Yeah.
were two incredible fullbacks.
Yeah. I mean, David Neary was, for me, a hugely underrated player.
They are like huge. I mean, you're talking hugely underrated.
Yeah.
I mean, like Miller and McLeish were fucking unbelievable.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then Alan Hansen. I think Sash would have got a lot more caps.
Yeah.
Listen, I could be wrong because I probably didn't see enough of that Aberdeen, and I'm not saying that's an unbelievable back four.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at Gough and Malpass, the full backs.
It's a great argument. It's probably, the only time it falls down is the battle over Miller, McLeish and
Yeah, of course.
The fullbacks is a no-brainer, I think. Although I'm sure Stuart Kennedy, who I know,
Yeah, of course.
would argue the point.
Listen, of course, and that.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, can I just say, just for the benefit of somebody, and you know what our country's like, Dave Neary's nickname was Sash.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I don't know why.
Neither do I, but I just thought I'd say that because as sure as fate, somebody will go, what?
And I think in this country or wherever you say, who's a better player?
Yeah.
Now, when you say that person, I think he's a better player, people think, well, you don't think they're a good player. You're like, if it's Messi or Ronaldo, who's the better player? You maybe think, I would say Messi.
Yeah.
Messi's all, but so it doesn't mean I don't think Rugby and Stuart Kennedy were bad because they were top. I played against the first time.
Don't worry about upsetting people, by the way, because you're going to upset people when you name your five-a-side team. So there's going to be people who are going to be miffed.
I played against it was my second game for Newcastle. I played at Stamford Bridge and I played against Rugby.
Yes.
We beat them 3-1.
And did he give you a hard time?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was 10 stone. Look at the size. I mean,
if there's any consolation, I was with Doug Rugby about 3 months ago, and his hand was about 3 times the size of mine, and I was scared, and I was only sitting next to him buying him a drink. But I understand where you're coming from. You mentioned some of those managers, Jim.
So like Jim.
Yeah.
Going on from there, Alec Miller, who played a huge, massive part in my career, 5 years. Well, 4.5 years I had Alec.
Yeah.
It was just.
How did was it a acrimonious split from Dundee United? You know,
Yes, RB Jim. Yeah, well, funny enough, Alec tried to sign me from Newcastle.
Right.
And this is a true story. That I was sitting in the boardroom at Tannadice, and I was sitting with Jim McLean and my first wife Pamela.
Yeah.
We were sitting there, and his secretary came in and said, Mr. McLean, Darren's mother-in-law's on the phone. Donald and I looked at each other, out like that. He says, can you just tell Bill McMurdo that he's busy? it was wee Bill.
Yeah, so he knew the tricks of the trade.
By the way, yeah, he was so switched on. So Alec had tried to sign me then, right. So when my contract being up, and Alec was, and again, I honestly don't believe Alec got the credit at Hibs he deserved, because people thought.
Well, he did have a dour kind of.
He did, but people used to think Alec Muller defensive.
Yeah.
And I used to look at the team, and I know there was other players played and all that, but McAllister, McGinley, Hamilton, O'Neill, Wright, and Jackson.
Yeah.
Can you see that's defensive?
No, it's really, and a lot of really good, talented players.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So
I can't let you stop. You know, I can't let you go away from Dundee United without talking about the highs of Dundee United, because we've talked about the fact that you've got a manager who at times borders on ridiculous with his antics, but still a genius as a coach. You played in a team which had 3 legends in there, and you also...
and another one.
Oh, go on.
I'm sorry, I forgot Paul Sturrock. I was lucky enough to play with Luggy.
Oh, did you play in the side with... Yeah, brilliant. He's my favourite player at Dundee United.
Peter, sensational.
Yeah. And
again, another one that would have walked into any club, and those boys will probably not look back, because they were never Morris, Hegarty, Morris and Sash and Paul Sturrock probably weren't jealous people or that. They weren't like that.
Yeah.
But they must look back and think they could have played for any club in Scotland and England, without a doubt.
Yeah. Oh, Sturrock
was
top drawer.
I watched the programme, the Icons.
Yeah. He's outrageous.
It's ridiculous, and I was lucky enough to, and I wouldn't say I copied Luggy, but he was everything that I like. The way he went to the ball, the way he took it in, the way he would turn defenders and all that, and I would like to think that I learned an awful lot of Luggy.
Yeah, you played in one of the best Scottish Cup finals ever. I know it's painful. What are your memories of that day?
It's not painful. Well, I just wish VAR had been about then.
Yeah.
And we would have been okay.
Let it go.
Well, again, I get asked about that. I broke my wrist. We lost. I broke my wrist and I got sent off.
Yeah.
So memories aren't great.
Yeah. It was a brilliant final, though.
Listen, of course it was. I mean, I scored in the 93rd minute to take it in the extra time. Do you know what I mean? And it was.
Did you think you had them then when you
scored?
Well,
listen, I'm not being... I think we had the better team. I never performed on the day. I'm sure a few other players will probably say they never performed on the day. And Motherwell, I can't say they deserved to win it, but they kept going, and they scored great goals. Obviously, our pal Phil scored, and so very, very disappointing. But my time at Dundee United was brilliant, Peter. Brilliant 3.5 years.
Yeah.
And the team spirit we had up there was absolutely incredible, because Jim McLean, no one got away with not getting any stick, or everyone was kind of treated the same. I know I said earlier the ones that were brought in, but that was in a different way. After games, everyone was treated the same. It doesn't matter if you were a £1 million player or a 16-year-old kid getting a game.
Yeah.
You got it like everybody else. So the team spirit we had, and because everybody had to live in Dundee, when you had a night out, everybody was there. And it was wonderful. And listen, there's no doubt Luggy, Teggy, Neri and Malpass helped that with their experience and helping. Like, some boys would come in and just be first game. I mean, this is honest. I broke my ankle in my debut.
Yep.
And so I was out till the next season. And we played Brecon in a pre-season, for our first pre-season friendly. and he came in at half-time and absolutely destroyed me. And everyone's like that. He's been at 6 months.
Give him a chance.
You know what I mean? But that was just him. And listen, see, in a way, you look upon it as just his expectations, what he thinks. He would never ever just come in and say to a player for their passing or their control or that, if he didn't think they could do it.
Yeah.
If they weren't a great passer of the ball, or you only got stick on what you were good at, and if you didn't do it, if you weren't doing it right.
Yeah. Let me then switch to the point where I think I crossed over into your life. I'm a reporter. You're playing with Hibs. My bag at the time was Hibs, Hearts, Wraith Rovers, Dunfermline. And at that time, I thought Hibs and Hearts had right good sides. There were really good players in there. You had a great bunch at Hibs as you rhymed them all off there. Do you think you should have got more success?
Without doubt. I think we finished third one year. Motherwell finished second.
Yeah.
And you probably need to look back. I don't think we won an away game that year.
And you finished third?
We finished third.
Wow.
I'm almost positive. But like one of the players in there, I've always said, and it wasn't because of their ability, it was just because of the personnel. Gordon Hunter, Pat McGinley and Kevin McAllister were incredibly unlucky not to get Scotland caps.
Yes. I thought McAllister was a really talented individual.
Brilliant. Fantastic player for Hibs, but we played in a 4-4-2 where Craig played 3-5-2 and he played wing backs.
Yeah.
And in international football, Crunchy probably couldn't have handled the wing back role. And Pat was unlucky, scored goals, went to Celtic, ended up top goal scorer, came back to Hibs. But there was McStay, McAllister, Collins, Stuart McCall, Billy McKinley. There was just, and then at the back there was Calderwood, Henry, Matt Elliott, Boydie,
McKinley,
Tosh, but a wing back. But I'm talking about Gordon Hunter.
Yeah,
that's how the reason
he can't get in.
Yeah, so I would say that those three. Keith got one cap. He probably could have got more caps, but those three I think were very unlucky.
How did you like living in Edinburgh?
Well, I just lived I'm obviously from Edinburgh, but I just lived outside in Bonnyrigg, famous place for Lockie.
Yeah.
And yeah, I enjoyed it. We trained at Cramond at Dunfermline. It used to be Dunfermline Colleges. There's houses on there now and all that.
Yeah, I used to go and interview you there. I know.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and Alec was brilliant, and I think Hibs made a mess of sacking Alec.
Yeah,
he didn't deserve that.
He wouldn't be the first or the last.
I know. Listen, I know that's the name of the game, and Alex accept that. But he was so thorough. I mean, his life is all football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, but he was so thorough, and yeah, again, he took it on from Jim McLean by making me a better player.
Yeah. So you're a better player. You're playing, at a really good level, and suddenly, Scotland. Obviously, you want to attract the attention of the international manager, but then right out of left field, somebody mentions Celtic. Yeah, well,
it was in the papers and all that, and you thought to yourself. But then Tommy Burns made a bid, and it was knocked back because we were second bottom of the league. I think we were in the playoffs, and Hibs just said we can't do it, we can't take it.
Yeah.
And so, and I never ever give myself a pat in the back a lot, even though I was probably 30 then when Celtic made the bid. I just got on with it.
Yeah.
We were struggling, and we were second bottom of the league, and of course it went to the playoffs, and we played Airdrie, and the first leg we won 1-0. The big boy Steve, he actually died. Steve, mind he was really good in the air.
Yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. I can't remember his second name.
Well, I played a free kick in, he's flicked it on, and so we won 1-0, and then the second leg, first half, Airdrie absolutely battered us. And Paddy Connolly, I just had a penalty to make it 1-1, and I believe they could have gone on, and Jim saved it, and we beat them 4-1. I think I scored 2 penalties, Pat and Keith scored. And so we go back pre-season, and we were actually down Gullen Beach, getting hammered, and we were on the way back. I think I've got a photo of it. I was walking on the way back with Keith, and my phone went, and it was the club saying that they've accepted a bid from Celtic. I have to go there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it was just, Keith he's always been a pal. He was my best strike partner in my career. And he was delighted and all that, and so it finally happened at 31.
Yeah, which is it's crazy when you think sometimes of the signing policy, and people wouldn't sign a 31-year-old, but Peter, your work rate was incredible.
Yeah, but I think what without doubt helped, I played with Murdo at Hibs.
Yep.
And Murdo went on as assistant manager. John Clark, who came in as a kit man, tried to sign me at Cowdenbeath before Terry signed me.
Yeah. So there's all these things in
your
favour.
And Jock Brown, I think, was always a big fan.
Yeah.
So maybe through his brother, but he's got his own opinion, obviously, but he was a bit... So I think inside, the only thing I would say is, which I was delighted, I wasn't really bothered at the time, but being Vim's first signing, it was like I was replacing Pierre, because Pierre had just left.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And there was no chance I was going to replace Pierre.
So were you, on that day when you were signing, I seem to remember they paraded 2 or 3 of you in a picture.
No, just me.
You were on your own.
No, that was the team photo. There was the signings were it was Craig Burley, me, Henrik, and Stefan Mahi. That was that picture.
That's the one I'm thinking about.
Yeah, well, that was the photo shoot. But I only signed. That was Vim's first signing, and I can remember a game at Easter Road where Tommy Johnson had kicked Chris Jackson, my cousin, and so of course I've gone up and I'm like right into Tommy's face, and of course the first person I met when I signed was Tommy.
Yep.
And we've been best pals ever since. Yeah,
it's incredible how these things come about in football. With that team, the pressure's unbelievable.
I signed on the Saturday, and we were going to Dublin on the Sunday to play in a tournament, and of course turns up at the hotel and there's your room key, and I'm rooming with Paolo, the Canio.
Yes.
And of course he was having his fight with Fergus at the time.
Absolutely.
I was terrified. I was in the room and he's shouting and bawling on the phone. I've never known anybody to be on the phone as much in my life than Paolo. And but he was brilliant. He was the 2 days I had was just amazing with him.
Yeah, he's a very passionate man.
Yeah.
But
and by the way, an incredible professional.
Yes.
Like in the room, just doing sit-ups and press-ups and like just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we all do that, Darren. I mean, it's not exactly special, to be honest with you. As far as the side's concerned, you've just got to stop Rangers winning 10 in a row. I mean, it must have been tremendous pressure.
Yeah, it was. I think because you were caught up in it, it was hard to really take it in.
Yeah.
I've never been more nervous than watching the programme on the television, the team that was.
Yes.
And I still sat there thinking, I hope they're going to do it. I was so nervous sitting watching the programme.
Yeah.
But at the time, we had great players. I mean, really, really good players. Although that good that I couldn't get a game. But I was obviously a bit unlucky that I had my brain operation, and I was only out 9 weeks. But they brought Harold in, and Vim. I'd never criticised Vim because he was brought in to do a job, and he did it.
Yeah,
without doubt. You look at it personally. Could I have played more? Yes. Should I have played more? I think so. Yes, but Vim was a manager. I don't think he would get away with it now that he had his 11 and if they were fit, didn't matter how they played, or how they were playing, they played.
Yes.
Which, listen, every manager's different. Just because I wasn't probably in that 11, you take a sort of gripe to it and you think, well, is that it? Because I can remember us going down, were you down at Anfield when we drew 0-0?
Yep.
Now, we had so many injuries. And I was out with my brain operation then. Malky, Davy Hanna, Rico, Tosh, all went in and we drew 0-0. And then on the Saturday, everyone was fit. And they all went back in and played.
Yes.
It was one of them, you always thought, well, if I play well, I'll stay in the team, but that wasn't the way Vim managed. And as I say, he won the league, so I would never ever, and he took me to Celtic, so I'll always be grateful for that.
Did you get a medal?
Of course I got a medal, yes.
What more can you ask for?
100%.
Here's a question for you. There's a couple of things I want to talk about before we finish. The illness, it came right out of left field. What was going through your mind? How did that whole thing kick in?
Peter, do you know, I just woke up, we played Tyrol. No, it was at 6-3.
Yep.
I woke up in the morning and a headache. So I went to Brian Scott. And Scotty would do what any doctor or physio would do. He gave me a couple, he said, take a couple of paracetamol, you'll be fine. So I took them and went to my bed and then came up and actually Vim named the team and I was playing. And on the way to the game up in the bus and I'm thinking, I'm not feeling great at all. And so I got there and they'd phoned ahead to Jack Mulhern, who's the club doctor. And they just said he's got a problem. So I went in, took me into the physio's room, put the lights out, and I just had to lie there. And then Vim came in and said, we're going to have to name the team. And I just said, no, I can't, I just don't feel great at all. And unknown to me, they had gone in the dressing room, and because it was my first European, well, it wasn't my first European, it was my first big European game at home. The boys thought I'd bottled it.
Yeah.
They told me afterwards that they thought we thought you had.
Yeah.
So,
if you had played?
No, I don't think, I couldn't have damaged. Well, they reckon I'd had it since birth.
Right.
So, unknown to me again that night, Celtic had invited the doctors and nurses from Ross Hall to the game. And so I think Jack had gone up and said, can we book a scan for tomorrow?
Yes.
Because the doctor, Jack Mulhern, had the exact same thing as me.
So he knew the symptoms?
No. Well, he didn't, not really the symptoms. He just, anything that went wrong with the head, you went for a scan.
Perfect.
Now, listen, Peter, I think I could have been at Real Madrid or Barcelona and they wouldn't have reacted that quickly because it was just a headache.
Yes.
Everyone gets a blooming headache.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Would it have been life-threatening if you hadn't?
No, well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so they just said, go home, just see how you are in the morning. So they phoned in the morning, how are you? Just said, it's still a bit so right. We booked a scan. So I went, got the scan and all that. So I'd parked my car in Glasgow. So I came back and, well, we went in and just said, yeah, there's a problem. They didn't want to go into detail because, and he just said, there's a problem. You need to sit and think about things and all that. And this is what the doctor said, your career's over. And so I'm distraught. I mean, I went back in Glasgow city centre and I was the Italian centre.
Yep.
I was there absolutely sobbing, people walking by and all that, breaking my heart. I thought I need to get home, see the family and all that, and I went to get my car and it had been lifted.
Of course, lucky way, Heather.
To go and pay £130 to get my car out there. So it goes home and all that, and it was actually headline news. And I'd never heard from I didn't hear a thing from Scotty or the club and all that, but they were having a board meeting to see what was. So Scotty phoned and said, yeah, Dan, they've seen something, they need you back in tomorrow for another scan. So I kind of sussed something at the time, but Jock and Brian Scott went with me. And so we went, got another scan, and then the Dr. Philip Barlow was the doctor, and said, right, it's hydrocephalus, water on the brain, there's pressure. You have 2 valves in your head.
Yeah.
One wasn't opened properly, another one was okay, so there's just been a little blockage, and that's what's caused the headache. So that was one Tuesday, and the following Tuesday I was in for, and to me, Brian, I don't know what they'd been told, I don't know what they were worried about, but Brian and Jock actually looked a wee bit happier. That was the diagnosis.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know what they were. So I was in the following Tuesday, they drill a hole in your head, and he pioneered it. So he lasers another he just leaves the valves, doesn't touch them, and lasers another passageway for the water to flow.
Wow.
So so I was in 2 days, and then home, and I was only out 9 weeks.
It's incredible, isn't it?
But the hamstring, you could be out longer.
Yeah.
And I can remember to this day that I was always at Scotty when I was up Barrafield training. Let me play. No, you're not ready. No.
Yeah.
And so this day I said, Scotty, and he said, right. He said, Vim, can he join in? And Vim went, yeah, no problem. So I went on, and this is a truthful story that Jackie went down the line and crossed one, and I was up and headed into the top corner. Right away, that's what happened. And I swear, the players just stopped. And kind of looked. I don't know if they were amazed that I scored.
Wait to see you drop dead.
But that's what happened. So, listen, I was Brian Scott, Jack Mulhern, and Jock Brown, and obviously Dr. Philip Barlow were just, I mean, I couldn't thank them enough for the way they treated me.
The Celtic fans embraced you. I think there was a real feeling of...
Peter, I've got in my house, I've still got the amount of cards I got was beyond, and my dad was always the one, he kept scrapbooks, and I have all the cards in a folder that I got. And I'll be truthful with you, one of the first that came through was from Brian Laudrup and Rangers.
Yeah. Which is amazing. Football, he puts it into perspective. It is not important. Life and family and everything are the most important. Strangely enough, though, knowing you as I do, I'm glad you told me that they'd put that kind of a thing that keeps the water flowing around your brain, because I thought there was still something wrong when I looked at your haircut when you returned up at McDermott Park, because... You look like something out of Robin Hood, Men in Tights. I thought, where is he getting that haircut? And you scored a belter of a goal.
It was a good goal. Yeah. So, yeah, well looked after.
Yeah.
And an amazing time. Again, I was asked, I don't know, a few months ago. People always ask you like funny questions or strange questions, all that, and someone says to me, do you think you did okay in your career? Do you think you had a good career?
Yeah.
And I just said, well, see, when you're a little boy, you try and play for a higher level as you can.
Yeah.
And you always would love to play for your country. I played for one of the biggest clubs in the world, and I went to a World Cup.
Doesn't get any better.
So
some people would give the right arm for that.
So I'm really happy with the way it panned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And some people would think, okay, hydrocephalus is not life-threatening, but it must have attached something to your brain because you joined Hearts. And I thought to myself, how can I've looked at the list here, and there's not many of them that do it. The one that sprung to mind right away, and I'm still pals with him, is Ralph Callaghan. Mm-hmm. He did it. Paul Hartley.
Well, Ralph and I played for Hibs, Hearts, Meadowbank and Newcastle.
So you took a similar journey.
But you forgot, in between that, I was 3 months at Coventry, Gordon. And without doubt, and my managers wouldn't take any offence to this, because I love training. And I love training at every club I was at.
Yeah.
Gordon's was another level.
Yeah. Strachan was unique though, wasn't he?
For the 3 months. And I can remember saying to Gary McAllister, he got his move to Liverpool at 36. Gary was a sensational player. Yeah. Incredible player. And I says to him, part of the reason is Gordon's training. And he said, 100%. Because it was, Peter, it was full on every single day.
Yes.
And if it wasn't, right, we'll just go back in and we'll have a wee coffee or that, and then you can decide if you want to train and all that.
Yeah.
Normally it was no feeling and Darren Huckabee who he was falling out with. Right? But it was just incredible. Yeah. And I did obviously, a lot of players don't like warm-ups.
Yeah.
I did a running warm-up 3 times in the 3 months. Because I had the boy Roger Spry, who it was hurdles and lifting with the ball and all that. But God, I would have loved a bigger part of my career under Gordon.
Yeah. At Hearts, did you worry? Were you worried?
No. Again, true story. I got a call. Someone had said, I wasn't getting a game for Celtic at the time, and it was coming to an end, and I didn't want to stay there because I wanted to be a Celtic player, Peter. I was 33, I wanted to play.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And so it was coming to an end, and Eric Black was taking the reserves, and Kenny McDowell, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And it was coming to a stage where we were just used to, you don't play with the first team, you play with the reserves.
Yes.
But it was coming in, do you want to play? That was, do you want to play for us? You don't have to play. And so I was a bit down, and Eric phoned and he says, we're playing Hearts. And I said, nah, Eric, my head's... And then I sat and thought, why would you not want to play? So I phoned Eric Black and said, yeah, I do want to play.
Yeah.
And we played Hearts at Barrowfield, and I had a really good game. And I was actually playing against a young kid that was just coming on the scene, who I ended up being his agent, Scott Severn.
Yes.
And so I played quite well in that game, and Big Viduka played.
Yep.
And I can remember I'd heard Hearts were interested, and so the phone went, and hello, and they said, Darren, it's Jim Jeffries. I went, hi Jim. He says, could you handle it? I went, yeah. He says, okay then, see, I'll be back in touch.
Yeah.
That was a call.
That was it.
That was. I can remember a game at Easter Road. I think it was 3-0. Colin Cameron scored. I can't remember who else they battered us. And Jim Jeffries' interview after the game is, if Darren Jackson had been playing for us, we would have won 6 or 7. And so that's obviously, he wasn't worried about the physical side or the ability side.
Yeah.
He was just worried, could I handle it? And you spoke about it earlier that everyone hated me. I thrived on that. I did.
It wasn't that they hated you. It was just that you were one of those players who, if I could pay the highest compliment, people hated to see in the opposition because they knew you were going to give everything. There was not one sinew of energy, sweat, you name it, left because you'd given it in every game. It was that attitude. And of course, the other great thing I loved about you is you loved the noise up. Yeah,
listen, I thrived on it. I really, really loved it. It's like Bruni.
Yeah.
I know how much Bruni loves it.
Exactly. You were a 1990s Bruni.
Yeah. So as soon as he said, I was like, yes. And it was probably for another reason as well. Like, I wouldn't have turned it down anyway.
Yeah.
But it was for another reason, that my dad was one of the biggest dyed-in-the-wool jambos you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah.
And of course, he actually lived in Easter Road. So me being there 5 years, it was very handy. And he supported me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most of his pals were Hib supporters, but they knew how mad a supporter it was, and how mad a supporter he was. And so the day I signed, I've got a picture standing with him, and he did an interview, and my dad was really emotional.
Yeah.
And just was breaking his heart. So the day I run out at, it's a toss-up. Me walking out in the opening game of the World Cup against Brazil, or running out at Tynecastle against Kilmarnock for my first game, and I would go Hearts. It's my dad's proudest moment.
Yeah. I think you were a mascot there as well, weren't you?
Mascot, yeah. Jim Jeffries was captain.
Yeah.
So,
amazing,
so that, I mean, for my dad, it was just amazing. But again, talking about managers, Billy and Jim, for that 18 months I was there, were just
Top drawer.
Top drawer.
Yeah. Okay, couple of things before I finish. I want to get your... I want to do quick fire stuff with you. Okay, you're going to... first of all, the 5 players that you've played with that are in your five-a-side team.
We all, I think any player sitting here would find it hard, right? But, and I really, this one's the hardest one.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper.
Yep.
Because I played with Jim for Scotland, Jim McLean for Scotland and for 4 years or at Hibs, and was just out of this world. That I need to go with Gorham.
Right. He's in.
He just had something that was incredible. I'm having a back one.
Yeah.
Of Neri.
Okay, I can't argue with that. He was top drawer.
The 2 in the middle are Gascoigne and Beardsley.
Yep. There's not many people will be able to, from this country, turn around and go Gascoigne and Beardsley. So that's great.
And Larson.
It's a good 5, isn't it?
Yeah, and listen, I'm leaving out Moravcik.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm leaving out McAllister, McStay. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Colin, but that's, I could pick another probably 5 or 6 five-a-side team, but I just thought that's, and again, I'm going on about, I don't think people know how good Dave Neri was.
Yeah. The strange thing about it between you and I, and this is what makes good friendships, is our differences. I wouldn't even have bothered playing with a defender. Like David, sorry. By the way, the other thing I'm going to say to you is everybody gets pelters. Because of all the features that we do with people picking their five-a-side team, the one thing that comes after it is people phoning going, how am I knowing your five-a-side team? So you're definitely going to get pelters for it. Okay, the other strange little thing that we do is you're on a road trip, you've got to get in the car, you could be going across Route 66 in America, you're driving and you've got to pick 3 people, famous, living or dead, that you'd love in that car with you, just to keep the trip special. Stop off, have wee bites to eat, have a chat with them, you know, the whole thing.
You've told me your 3, Peter, and this was a hard one.
Yeah.
But, and the people might, I mean, people have their opinion anyway, but might think it's a wee bit, I'm going to go with John Spencer.
Right. Why Spenny?
Just, Peter, he was the funniest boy you could ever meet in your life. I mean, he used to walk into the room. Now, Craig, obviously, his career was ended because of his knee.
Yes.
Right? So Craig had a kind of strange walk.
Yeah. Craig Brown, this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Craig and Spenny would walk into team meetings, walking like...
Take the mickey out of him.
And Craig loved it. I mean, Craig used to say, Benny, go and walk in again. I mean, and it wasn't taken, it was just, and he was, and like what he got up to, and he just kept, he had us in the restaurant one night. We used to go down to Ayr, to an Italian. It was obviously Craig's pal, because Craig lived down there. We used to go on a Monday night, and we sat at a table one night, and the other boys just sat and watched us. Spenny just held court, and we were just McCoy, Steve Dukey, Gary Mack, Badger, Derek White. We were just like, couldn't talk. He was just incredible, and by the way, really good player as well, but like just really funny. Okay,
so Spenny's making you laugh.
And yes, and we obviously have to eat.
Yes.
Yes, so, and I'm a big fan of watching cooking programmes. So I would take Jamie Oliver.
Right.
Because I think he's got a wee bit about him as well. I think he's got good banter.
Yeah.
And he can only cook fish, because I just love fish.
Right, okay.
Ondine in Edinburgh and Crab Shack in Glasgow, my favourite restaurants.
Right.
Another one would be for entertainment, for a wee sing-song at night, I'd take Ricky Ross.
Yeah. Now, the good thing about it is you probably know him because he's a big Dundee United fan, yeah. Have you met him?
Yeah, I've met Ricky a few times,
So the chat would be good?
Brilliant. Again, Jill and I were invited. They did a concert at the Castle.
Yes.
And we tried to phone up and get tickets, and we couldn't get tickets and all that. And I just thought, I'm not one for doing it, but I just thought, Ricky, there's no any tickets left. I was wanting to pay and all that. No bother. Just go up to the front door and all that. We went up, in the hospitality. Big Clarkey was there, John Holt was there, and it was an absolute beautiful night, and it was just amazing.
Favourite Deacon Blue song?
I don't know if I've got a favourite. It's one of those albums that I just love every song.
Raintown? Yeah.
Yeah, listen, yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
You love them all?
It's, by the way, it's like another album that I love, and I don't know which one, the Hue and Cry album. I just think every song on that Hue and Cry album is brilliant.
So you like all the Deacon Blue then?
I do. Yeah. There's not one song that I would say stands out for me, but Real Gone Kid, yeah, they were brilliant in concert. They were great, and I remember Paul Sturrock had his testimonial, and the Caird Hall in Glasgow, in Dundee.
Yeah.
And Ricky came up and did a solo.
Brilliant.
Just on the piano.
Right. Last two things I'm going to ask you before we finish. Best player you played with? Don't mention other people because I know they're going to be miffed.
No, by the way, I don't think, probably apart from Celtic fans, I don't think anyone would probably say I was wrong in Gascoigne.
Natural ability?
Yeah, just. I think, Peter, in 1990 at the World Cup, I think he was the best player in the world then.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, and listen, his injuries were self-inflicted. We know the one against Nottingham Forest. He phoned me from the hospital because I was in. I'd played in that was the day we got beat off Motherwell.
Yes.
And they beat Nottingham Forest, and he was in the hospital with his knee, and I was getting plasters on for my wrist. But barring his injuries, I think he'd have been up there with. He was up there with the best.
Right.
Yeah, I saw a clip the other day there, and I actually sent it to Ali McCoist. It was him in Italy, and Peter, he just ran, I swear to God, he ran through the whole team and just squared it to Rummenigge. Karl-Heinz, no, the one that was at Dortmund. Riedler, and he scored, and it was the turn of pace. It was, and everyone knew he had that turn. He was just, he was a joy to watch, a joy to play with.
Best player you played against?
Now again, this is because I could say Gascoigne.
Yeah.
And in the past I have said Gascoigne, but that day against Brazil, Ronaldo was, he probably wasn't at his best, but he was just
frightening.
When you look back, see when you look back, Peter, and people talk about obviously Pele. You're a Pele. You're a Pele and I'm a Maradona. Is that right?
Yes.
Messi, Ronaldo, Cristiano. Obviously, I don't think the Brazilian Ronaldo, gets enough mentions.
Absolutely.
He was frightening, and the injuries he had.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that day, I would probably say, was he unbelievable? No, but he just had an aura, and he just had something that he was one of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, it's been an absolute joy. I've been there for most of it, watching you from the press box, enjoying your play, enjoying the way you played, and for all those clubs as well. It's been a joy listening to you, Darren Jackson. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Top man.